Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, thanks. So we have a special guest today, our former classmate, Delia Hernandez.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
Super excited. We haven't met her, but we haven't met each other either, so it's all good,
Right.
except for on here. Delia Hernandez is her name, and her social media handle is Spirit One Living.
Yep.
She's going to talk a lot about being very introspective during this time, and her sort of theme is being connected by one source. So I'm excited
Okay.
to hear her talk about that and give us her thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, this is right up my alley. Like this is my thing about all being one. I'm excited. So yeah, we on Instagram, when we became Instagram friends, I saw that her Spirit One Living handle, and I was like, I had to ask a little bit about that. So I'm excited to learn more, and so let's bring her on.
Yay!
Okay, here we go.
Hey.
I'm excited! Yay! Oh, here we go.
There she is. Yay!
Yay! Hi!
Hi, Miss Delia!
We finally meet. Oh, got a little bit of a problem here. Oh.
Okay, there we go.
There we are.
Hi!
How's
Hi,
it going?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
Good. It's nice to see you. Nice to meet you
Yeah.
this way.
I know. I'm so excited. I'm like nervous, but I'm more excited than anything.
No, it's cool because I'm so used to, like, we all, like, with our class, it's been over the phone, so to actually see the face and hear it with the voice, it's amazing.
Yes. Yes, I love it.
Cool. Super cool.
Ah.
We introduced you in our way, but we'd like to hear you sort of, introduce
Right.
yourself and talk about kind of, things that you've been feeling and sort of your coaching approach.
Sure. So Delia Hernandez, 28. I live in Jersey, so we've been quarantined since we're one of the high numbers since about, I think it's gonna go, this week is like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's been crazy. The beginning was like super fun because I'm like, okay, it gives me my opportunity to work on my website, to plan out things for my coaching business, to actually put things into work. And then, like, I would say the third or fourth week, I lost all motivation to do it. And I'm like, oh, and I kind of went like a little downward spiral. And I was just like, I don't know. I really want to get back to work. I'm like, I was in my head a lot. So I took the opportunity because I started reading a book. It's called The Anatomy of Loneliness by Teal Swan. And it really, it gets you into realizing why you may be disconnecting from people in a personal look to it. And I was really into it in the beginning, and then I kind of lost it, but it brought out a lot of self-realizations. So, but when the last couple of weeks or so, I've been back on it, and I've been working through my website again. I haven't got it out there yet. I did buy my domain name, but I haven't finished the website. That's one thing that I'm still working towards because there's a couple of things. I want a little bit more practice, and I want to feel more comfortable when I actually do put it out there. So I'm still working towards that and posting more on social media. I do have a Facebook now. I've been holding it myself, like, I don't really know if I want it. I was still good on Instagram, but I was like, you know what? It's good. I'll connect with more people. And I did, because I did make I make YouTube videos, but I haven't been making them consistently. And I made one and I put it on there, and I got more views by putting it on there than if I were to just leave it. So I felt more confident about doing that. And that's mainly all I have out there is my YouTube videos and social media. I don't have my website up yet, and I'm working towards doing that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. Thank you so much for telling us about yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
So what else? Krista, yeah, I know you had some thoughts.
No, well, Julie and I have been talking about how for us it's been like And I feel I feel like it's leveling out a little bit, but I feel like in the beginning there it was up and down. It was like, okay, I feel okay today. Then the next day I'd be like, I feel like I can't do anything. Like, I feel like I want to cry. I feel like you talk about like Anatomy of Loneliness. I have that's in my head because that sounds like a book that would be something I'd be interested in. But
Yes.
it's those days where I feel completely alone because it's just me, my dog, and my guinea pigs. Like, that's who I live with. Like, I have full-fledged conversations with my animals now.
Okay. I had them with myself beforehand. So.
Right, exactly. Both sides of the conversation. But yeah, but it's just like that that feeling of loneliness, and that feeling of like one day it's I feel great, and next day I feel like how can I be like, it starts to make me like, which I know I'm not, but like, am I bipolar? Because like one day I'm up, one day I'm down, but I think everybody's feeling that on some level. Yeah. I'm curious, were you feeling that, like one day up, one day down?
Yes, I definitely was. It was probably like a week where I was really down.
Yeah.
Because I started reading the book and I was really into it. I bought it on my phone. So I started reading it and I was almost done. And I was probably, I would say 3/4 through before I like kind of quit. Yeah. And I went through like a really down like hill for about a week. And I was doing that. I was crying. I was like anxious, and I'm just like, oh, I don't know what's going on. And basically, I would say a lot of my past kind of came through with that. A lot of, what I went through when I first started going through my anxiety attacks back in about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And all of that started coming up where I felt like, oh, I got really panicked. Like, I don't want to go through that again because I've managed it and I've got so much better at it now that a lot of that was coming through. And I kind of realized by the book that, I still had a lot of shame around that part that happened. I really haven't accepted that happened in my life and that I needed help and the support that I got and everything. And I'm scared to like need the help and need the support. And I realized how it came to light that I had all the shame still surrounding that. And it was beautiful to see that light for the first time. And it really opened a new window. And that's where now I'm feeling a lot better and I'm kind of up now. Right. So going by day.
Right. So can I ask you, when you talk about the shame, how did you work through that? Like, how did you get to a place of acceptance or making peace with that?
It hasn't really been fully accepted. Okay. I will say that. It's something that I'm still working towards, but for the first time, because you probably know, both of you, that, the certain spiritual teachers that you listen to or the books that you read, it's kind of like, oh, just accept it, just show it love and then it'll just feel better.
Right. But yeah. So it's a process, actually.
Exactly. Right. So for some reason, the one day when I was kind of really panicking, I was sitting here just after I kind of had the attack part of it where I was more self-relaxing. It just came through that that fear and that shame that I had around, and I never really saw it that way. I never really saw that my past is that. So it kind of brought it to light, but I'm still working through the process of it, but it brought that fear to light. And now I realize that I don't have to be as fearful of that part of it, which is helping with, the future projections that I put out there and everything. So it really just brought to light that that's maybe something that was rooted and I didn't see it before.
Right.
So it didn't cure it, but it brought it to light that was something that I was holding on to that I actually never realized. And it's helping me realize that I don't have to be afraid to go back to that. It's not that I think I will, but I don't have to be afraid, because if I was able to get through it then why wouldn't I be able to get through it again?
Right.
So I think
that's a light.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that, Christa and I have talked about, and I've said to you, feel your feelings and also understand that this kind of stuff that we all work through in different degrees, but everyone has something, right? Whether they're telling you or not, it's a practice. And you have days where you feel like, I got this, I'm on this, I feel good. Then you have other days where for whatever reason or for no reason. The stuff
Right.
just hits you.
Mhm.
And it's a practice, and it's, you know, forgiving yourself in those times when, oh, I'm back in shame. Why am I back in shame? And again, Christa and I have talked a lot about this, you know, what is this triggering? Or your wounded little girl parts, which is a whole other part of therapy, right? And, you know, I've done a million years of therapy, so I know this really well, but I know when I go to those places that are full of shame or full of fear, it usually has something to do with a wounded little girl part in me.
Mhm.
And that's different from day to day. And I think just talking, you know, like amongst ourselves or with someone else, just sort of working through that and breathing and, you know, doing whatever it takes on any given day. And also accepting that where we are right now is so new. None of us that are living have ever gone through a pandemic, a global pandemic before. I know I have one piece of hair right here. I'm like, oh, haircut, we need haircuts. So it's a completely different way of being already on top of our own personal demons that
Yes.
we have to face.
And I want to add to that
Yeah.
too, is that, you know, like thinking about in terms of, and so I relate to you with anxiety, like completely, you know, I mean, today I've actually been feeling a bit of anxiety myself. And it comes on, and I just learned to, like, okay, it's there, and not to, my therapist has taught me not to label it, right? Just, it's a sensation, because it's the physical sensation of it, and it's there. Okay. And not to sort of let my brain go to the places that are like, oh my gosh, it's like my heart, like, okay, like, because I have arrhythmia, and that's actually that's what's triggering it, is that I'm having a bit more of the arrhythmia, but not to worry, like, you know, like my brain goes to, okay, what if and this is the crazy part of my brain, what if I have a heart attack? What if my brain this, instead of going there and being like, but what if I am okay? You know, like entertaining that part. But I think with it, and with the pandemic and everything that's going on, and it kind of brings you back to those places of vulnerability. And so, Julie, when you talk about your child self, that's when you're the most vulnerable, right? In life, because you rely on other people. You're relying, and right now we kind of are relying on our governments to make the right choices for us. And when we see our federal government not necessarily making those right choices, we now have to rely on our states and pray that they make those choices that are best to keep us safe. Yeah. And if you're somebody dealing with anxiety, that's scary, because it triggers that part of you, that the out of control part, the part that I can't control. Yeah. And so it's all about that sort of vulnerability in that, and acknowledging that, you know what, the truth is we don't have control, and to surrender to that, and that acceptance. Yeah. And again, that is a process. It's not just, I'm going to accept it, but I got to work through accepting that and realizing that I am okay right now. And so taking it day by day is so important, because today I am okay. Right now I am okay. You know,
that's all we got. That's all we got. Yeah.
That's all we got. Yes.
Yeah.
So, So Delia, I want to pick your brain a little bit.
Okay.
I am really, you know, I am, because when I was talking to you earlier today and getting a little bit more information, your spirit one living. And when you talk about being connected to one source, could you elaborate on that more? Because I am very curious about that.
Okay. For me, it's spirit one living kind of just came out of nowhere. I for years wanted to make videos.
Yep.
Once I really started to get a grounding in spirituality, from my journey starting maybe 6 years ago. At first, you know, you're the student, and then years pass and you start to influence other people. And me working at a college bookstore, I had student workers. Right. So the college students would come work for me part-time, and I would always want to just dive into them and how they're thinking about, you know, what they want in the future and their life and what they want out of college. And it was like the perfect environment for me. I loved it. And
right.
I still do. I'm still working there. So I would basically use them as my students in a way where I was always giving them advice on different things. And the one girl used to always say, she's like, you need to make videos of this like as soon as possible. I'm like, oh, I'm dying to, but I'm just scared to do it because I don't know what to do. And then I was always thinking of a name because I didn't want to use my name. I wanted to be something that would last forever. You know, other people can take it over. Other people can teach on it. It didn't define me. I wanted to be, you know, for everybody. So she was coming up with names. I was coming up with names. And I wanted to obviously have the spirit into it because I believe, you know, that we are connected. We are, you know, each of our centers are connected as one. What you feel, I feel in a way, and it's a collective and we kind of bounce off of each other.
Right.
So I wanted to have the spirit in there, and then it kind of just like many things in my life hit me one day, and it came up Spirit One Living, and I was like, I don't know if I'll like it. And I told the girl that, you know, wanted me to make videos, and she's like, I love it. I'm going to make t-shirts. Like she went all out of it. And I was like, okay.
You're a cheerleader.
Actually happened, but I decided to keep that as my name, as the name. And I started it with social media, with Instagram. And then once I felt comfortable with making videos, because I think it was in 2018 when I started getting topic ideas, and they were coming to me, and I started writing down all the topics, and I was like, okay, next year, starting January in 2019, I'm going to start making videos. And I was very consistent. I was really good in the beginning. I was making twice a week and everything. And then my manager was retiring, so I was going to have a new manager. And that's when I went into like panic mode because I didn't know who I was going to get. I didn't know if I was going to like them, and I was kind of panicking. So I kind of slowed down on the videos and was more in my head about everything. But that's where it all started. And the Spirit One is for all of us being connected, and then living. I wanted to make it, you know, not like how you should live or anything like that, but just a way of living
right as one. Yeah. Very nice.
That's lovely. Really nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. As empaths among us, I definitely get the, you know, living as one idea, and how that's another thing. I don't know if you identify as an empath, but, you know, we've certainly talked about it before, and in our class, how that can oftentimes dictate how I'm feeling. I won't speak for Christa, but how I'm feeling on any given day. I can feel the energy, which I know for people who don't have that, that can be a little strange, a little esoteric, a little hard to understand. But to feel like there's days that definitely feel heavier. Yeah. It's like, oh, it's harder to get moving. And then there's other days where it's a little brighter. And when I say brighter, I don't just mean outside. I mean, I can feel that the energy is a little bit brighter. So it's also, it's feeling connected. It's feeling that we all are connected, and that, you know, it's oftentimes I can pick up on other people's energies, which is good and bad. I always say that it's, you know, it's a blessing and a curse for sure. Christa, I'm sure you feel the same in many ways.
It's been a process. I mean, that's been a process of like, that was a lesson I learned, well over probably maybe like 15 years ago. And I remember the time when it really stood out. I was actually in a waiting room. I think I was getting was I getting an MRI? I think I was getting an MRI, and you have to change. And then I went into the waiting room, and I was in there and felt okay. And then this guy walked in and he sat down, and it didn't register until I was, and I don't know if I think I was reading a book about that, about being an empath. So it was already kind of in my head. And I just all of a sudden felt the energy change, and I started to feel like anxious. And then I looked over and I looked at him, and you could see it on his face. And I'm like, oh, that's not my energy. That's his energy. And I'm picking it up. And so that's where the process of learning how to ground that, of grounding, even just grounding what you're feeling, so you can learn to separate that. You know, if you have to, like, okay, like I'm feeling this, I'm going to ground that. So I know that that's mine and it's not weighing heavy in me. And so that way I can then distinguish and have an understanding, this is mine. now I'm feeling that's coming from here, or, you know, you have to learn really emotionally what you're feeling at all times in order to sort of moderate that, in order to keep it in check. And that does help with the anxiety. And I don't know with you, Delia, do you consider yourself an empath, or have you thought about that?
I've thought about it. I've never considered myself, only because I think you guys probably, or you feel it more than I would.
Yeah.
I don't always feel energy from others, but I do right. At times, and those times I usually pick it up really fast or whatever, but I don't always feel it. And I always try to focus on, obviously, like you said, you focus on your own emotions, and I always try to put that out there so that I don't attract any negative emotions.
Right. Well, that's right. Yeah. That's true. I didn't even think about that. Right. You just, because you can absorb that. And that's true too. What you're talking about, negative energy is I mean, I think I've been good at sort of blocking that, and that's just a lifetime of living, of having an unhealthy living situation as a child. You learn to, like, I'm not going to take that on. That's not mine. But it's a little harder, I think, when it comes to somebody being sad or anxious, because those are more of the energies myself that I relate to. So, and that's a good point. You brought up something I didn't even think about, that the energies we relate to can often be the energies we draw in from other people, and we don't even realize that.
Yes. So, it's something that I see at work a lot. So that's why I usually say to myself that if, like, a negative customer comes up out of nowhere, just, you know, they came in wanting to start a fight, once they leave, I immediately ask myself, I'm like, was I putting out a negative vibe? And I'm like, why did I attract that person in here? And I immediately just look at myself like, they obviously are going through whatever they're going through, but I feel like they brought them in because I needed to see something within myself. Maybe I was being too stressed or too anxious, and I feel like the universe brought that person to yell at me like, hey, wake up to the moment. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I brought them in and I didn't even realize it.
Or I'm going to interrupt you and say this, or it could have been that the universe brought them in because your energy could have helped them balance themselves out. Right. So, I've
had those moments also. Yeah.
Right. Where you're offering them something that they need in a positive way, you know, so being that light, which is also why grounding is so important in keeping your own emotional energy sort of in a place of, and it doesn't have to be necessarily positive, but at least, you know, neutral and open to the shifts around you. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. I was thinking the same thing, is that if the negativity comes in, it's like, well, it's an opportunity to learn, you know, what can I learn from that, or can I send out something positive that could then sort of alter the rest of that person's day. And sometimes you can, and sometimes you can't.
Right.
But it's just staying present. Yeah. So, wow, this is cool.
So could Delia, I'm curious, because I noticed your cross on your neck.
Yes.
So when you're talking about spirit, one living, and you're talking about being connected as one, does now stop me if this is too personal, but does your religion play into that?
I'm not religious.
Okay.
This was a gift from my father years ago.
Oh, okay.
I did grow up Catholic in the Catholic church and everything. I finished all the sacraments and all that good stuff, but I don't identify with any religion.
Okay, cool.
The way I carry this now, I see it as, you know, the cross that I did bear throughout my life, and it's like the way I view it now is it's a reminder that, you know, life isn't always going to be fantastic. You may have more crosses to bear in the future, and just like, and plus it's a reminder of my dad, but I mean, he's still with us, but I'm just saying, he gave it to me. And I used to switch this in and out with another necklace, but now I wear this all the time. And people always say that, people usually compliment me on it and immediately think that it has to do with religion, which is fine. But then they get surprised when it doesn't. And I was like,
well, it's an opportunity, but it's an opportunity for conversation, right?
Right,
you know,
exactly.
so then people like, yeah, so that's really cool.
Mhm.
That's great. Oh, yay. Awesome.
Well, gals, this has been fantastic.
So do you have any questions for us? Since we've been asking you all the questions.
I know. I don't know if I have any specific questions. I didn't think of any beforehand.
Okay.
I feel like I had questions before. Well, I got to talk to Christa one-on-one, but I never really got to talk to you on the phone, Julie. I wanted to always ask you, like, what are your tricks when it comes to anxiety? I know we were gonna have a conversation about that, but we never did. Well, I have you.
Here we are. I will talk about anxiety and depression anytime with anyone. And no one can ever believe that I had depression, but it's true. Yeah, so I think that my tricks at this point are just, because I'm so sensitive, I can, I kind of know, like I wake up, or I shouldn't even say I wake up, I'm kind of always awake, but I think just sort of checking in with myself, and if there's something that I feel anxious about that day, I mean, I think Christa's saying, not to label it. I thought that was sort of an interesting way. I had been taught by my therapist some years ago to just be curious, to just observe and not stand in judgment. For me, I think breaking down, like, what is triggering this? I can't remember. I feel like last week, Christa, there was something, I had texted you and I said I was anxious about something, and you asked me if I knew what the trigger was. And it's like, yes, I knew exactly what it was. I can't remember what the conversation was. But
yeah, I know you talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, Delia, I can pretty much figure out what it is. And maybe it's 10 different little things that came together that for a sensitive person is like, blah, it's like an avalanche. And then I try to sort of look at them one at a time, which is hard. And it's a practice, because it's so easy to get overwhelmed by that. And if I don't have, like, my son is here unexpectedly now, he's a college refugee, but usually I'm here by myself. And it's like, okay, can I write stuff out? Can I talk to a friend? Can I go for a walk? I kind of have some things in my toolbox that help me, but it's taken a long time for me to get that and to master that. And I say that with quotes, because you never really master, well, in my mind, maybe others would say differently, you never really master it. It's always work. It's always work.
You're a master student.
I'm a master student, that's right.
Right.
That's exactly right.
Good.
I feel like I've gotten it down better than 5 years ago, 10 years ago, for sure. But I don't know if time, maturity, I could be your mom. I think that that's helped me a lot. Life experience, gone through a lot of stuff, and talking to others and helping others and putting the focus on other people can be very helpful as well. So I hope that gives you a little bit of insight.
Yes.
There's no magic potion. It's
Right.
just being open to different ways of being. Does that resonate at all?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And just accepting that I was born this way. I came out with anxiety and
Lady Gaga.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, it's very true. Like, this is how I came out. And there's some of it is nature versus nurture, for sure. The way that I was brought up, the environment I was brought up in, all that stuff contributes. So it's like, okay, well, how do I deal with that now? And it's like it's not a magic potion, but it's sort of a witch's brew of different things to throw in there. So I'm sorry, I feel like this was a really long monologue and I like to be quiet. So
Delia, I have a question. Have you read the book, The Body Keeps, I think it's The Body Keeps the Score?
Yeah.
No.
You should check that out, because when you're relating to anxiety and stuff, because what what Julie just talked about kind of brought that up for me in terms of acceptance and knowing that my anxiety is always going to be there. It's not something that's going to go away. And it's because my nervous system is always keyed up because of my past, knowing that there's always a part of me that's waiting for like, okay, like,
yeah.
It's taught itself, and it means well, right? It's like we gotta be on guard because something's gonna come up, because that's what we grew up, my brain grew up waiting for something to happen, that something's gonna happen. Mm-hmm. And accepting that's the way my body, that's gonna be its natural state in terms of it's always gonna fall back on that. So when stuff like this happens, when we're in a pandemic, your body's naturally going to want to go to that state. We got to keep ourselves safe. And that's where meditation comes in. That's where learning to slow the body down, right? And a lot of, when you talk about introspection, that's actually really good in terms of lowering anxiety, of getting in touch with yourself and having that sort of inner conversation where part of yourself isn't just acting out of impulse, but you're able to sort of be in that frontal lobe area of like, okay, we can sort of talk ourselves through this. Not that we can, because a lot of times people think, well, I can just will it. I can will it away. But it's not a willing. It's about having a conversation with that lizard part of your brain that's like, oh God, like for me, like, you're going to have a heart attack. And it's like, okay, but I haven't had a heart attack yet. And this has happened, this has been happening for a decade now. I'm probably going to be okay. Right. Mm-hmm. And saying, thank you for that. I hear you. I acknowledge you, but we're going to be okay. Mm-hmm. And that's like a big part of it. So it's not just, there's not just one thing, or it's a bunch of little things. And as you were saying, Julie, like oftentimes you have a pandemic, and like for me, it's like a pandemic, and now my heart's acting up and I'm all alone and I can't go out and do the things that usually help me. So how can we balance that out? So it's tough, and it's always going to be there. And I've gotten to a place I've accepted that I'm never going to not be without it. As much as I would love to get to that place, it's never going to happen. So it's learning to live with it. Right. Which is important. So. Right.
Yeah. I once heard on a video I was watching by the author that wrote The Anatomy of Loneliness. She also had a video where she was talking with somebody that suffers with anxiety just like us. And she said the same thing, it's something that you live with. It's like, and she gave the image of, it's like having a baby, holding the baby in front of you while you're doing the dishes. The baby's the anxiety.
Right.
And you're trying to do the dishes, so right. You're holding that while you're doing other activities. And that always sticks in the back of my mind. And I'm like, okay, it's just there. Doesn't mean I can't do this and I can't do that. Yes, right. My heart's pounding out of my chest, but right. I'm okay, Yeah.
Right.
And there's actually something empowering if you have those times for either of you when you feel really anxious, but you see that you're still able to put one foot in front of the other.
Exactly.
Yes.
And little things are actually big things. Right. And that's the thing too, Delia, like for the times early on in this whole situation when you weren't feeling good, it's like just you're here. Like mm-hmm. Those little things that you did are huge things. And the days mm-hmm. that Christa and I have been like, oh my God, we can't manage, or okay, but you got up, you brushed your teeth, you walked Fred,
right. You took your 3-mile walk.
I did my 3-mile walk. That's right. I mean, like that stuff, if that's all you can do, then girlfriend, that's huge. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yes. Really. Do your best, whatever that is. For
absolutely.
That
right. And celebrate it.
3-mile walk. I got to do my 3-mile walk. Yeah. Yeah. So, exactly. Yeah. Wow.
All
well,
right.
It's been fantastic. Delia, thank you so much for being our first guest.
Thanks for having me.
So great.
I love talking to you guys.
Yeah. And have we received our certification?
That's what I was going to ask. I was going to reach out. Have you, Delia?
I have. It's actually, so I've been quarantined at my mom's because my sister works at a hospital. and she just feels more comfortable with me being here, since I'd probably be here during the day anyway. So I've been here, but my mom said that when she went there, she saw an envelope from CTA.
Oh,
I had
Okay.
when?
she said that she saw it a week or so ago.
Okay, Christa, what is up?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That's really
That's
weird.
what she said. I haven't seen it myself, but that's what my mother has said. I said, leave it there, because when this is over and I go back, that's my gift for when I get back.
All right. Yeah, we have to check that out.
Yeah, because I would have thought we would have all gotten it at the same time, and I actually just thought it was coming through email, so I'm confused. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
But we will get our certification, right? So let's see, CTA, we're gonna say it was great to go through that program, because this is all being recorded right now. So
Yeah. We got new friends.
exactly. It's been great. No, that is true. That I was actually even I was talking to somebody earlier today about with Julie that, I mean, Julie, we talked I think it was November, the end of November was the first time we actually had a phone conversation.
Okay, yeah.
I think it was.
Right. Yeah.
And it's weird because it's I feel like you've been in my life a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
So it's a value. And then Delia, I know on Instagram, we follow each other and stuff, and and even when you, again, talking about this connected to one source, I still want to talk to you in private more about that, because that's something that really does interest me.
Hey, in private, what does that mean? That I cannot be?
No, you can. I just meant not like this.
Yeah, no, I got you. That's fine.
So, all right, this is awesome. Yeah, so thank you, Delia. Thank you for
thank you so
joining
much.
us.
Thank you for having me. I love it. If you guys need me to come back again, want to talk, I'm more available.
Absolutely. No, definitely. 100%.
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Right.
I'm just going to stop this for a second.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.